The winter of 1941 pressed down on Warsaw like a heavy hand, suffocating anything that still dared to breathe. Snow clung to the broken rooftops, to the twisted metal, to the scorched stone where homes once stood. It softened the devastation, but it could not hide it. Daniel Lewin walked through the frozen street with a lump of stale bread hidden inside his coat. He kept his head down, his shoulders small, trying to look like the quiet, harmless tailor's apprentice he once was. But the German soldiers who patrolled the ghetto saw everyone as a threat. Daniel, at 19, already felt 80. His fingers were numb as he adjusted the coat around the bread. He wasn't stealing for himself. The bread was for his sister, Miriam, only 11 years old and shrinking each day like a candle burning at both ends. Her face had lost its childhood softness. Her eyes were too large for her head now, too sad for someone so young. As Daniel turned into a narrow alley, a distant explosion made the ground vibrate. He didn't flinch. In Warsaw, explosions were as common as snowfall. When he entered their apartment, if the cold, cracked room could still be called that, Miriam was huddled in a corner, wrapped in a thin blanket. "You're back," she whispered, her voice barely there. Daniel smiled, though his lips split from dryness. "I found something today." Her eyes widened as he revealed the bread. It was small, hard, nearly tasteless, but to Miriam it was gold. "You should eat too," she said, breaking it. Daniel shook his head. "Later, you first." He watched her chew slowly, making it last. She always tried to share. Their mother had raised them to be generous even when they had nothing. But their mother was gone now, taken in a selection line. That was almost a year ago. Daniel still remembered her voice. "Look after your sister. You're strong. You will survive." He didn't feel strong. He felt like a thread pulled tighter every day. Outside, a whistle blew sharply, then shouting. Boots pounded the street. Daniel froze. Miriam looked up, frightened. "What is it?" Another whistle. "Rouse! Everyone rouse! Out! Out!" A roundup. Daniel grabbed Miriam's coat and pushed her toward a small cabinet behind the stove. "Get in. Don't make a sound. What about you? I'll be fine." "Just hide." The cabinet door closed, leaving only a thin line of darkness where her breath trembled. Seconds later, German soldiers burst in. Daniel stepped into the doorway, hands raised. A soldier barked his questions. Name, age, work. He scanned the room, but didn't check the cabinet. He waved Daniel away and moved on. Daniel leaned his head against the cold wall, finally exhaling. He had survived another inspection, but each one chipped another piece from his soul. When he opened the cabinet, Miriam fell into his arms, shaking. "I thought they'd take you," she whispered. "So did I," he said softly. "But we're okay. We're still here." That night, long after Miriam slept, Daniel sat awake. He reached into his pocket and pulled out a folded scrap of paper. It was a letter from his father, written months before he died in Treblinka. "If you survive, Daniel, promise me one thing. Protect your sister. She is the future." Every time Daniel read the words, they carved deeper into him. A promise, a burden, a reason to keep going. Weeks passed. Food grew scarcer. People collapsed on the streets, frozen or starved. One morning, Daniel found a young boy lying in the snow, no older than 8. His skin was gray, his lips cracked. Daniel knelt beside him. "Hey, can you hear me?" The boy looked at him with dull eyes. "I lost my mother." "What's your name?" "Eli." He picked the boy up and carried him home. Miriam made space beside her blanket. When Eli finally woke, he whispered, "Am I going to die too?" Miriam took his hand. "Not if my brother says no." "He always finds food." Daniel felt her words like knives. He didn't feel strong, but to them he was all they had. Day after day he searched, scavenged, stole when he had to. He learned which guards looked away, which alleys hid opportunities. He always returned. Until the day he almost didn't. He heard rumors of a smuggling spot near the ghetto wall. Risky, but Miriam and Eli needed food. At dusk, he found a small hole under some debris. A voice whispered from the other side, "Payment?" Daniel removed his boots and handed them through. Boots were valuable. A loaf of bread slipped through the hole. Then a whistle, a shout. A German patrol. His heart thrashed as he ran. Bread tucked under his coat. Bullets cracked through the air. Snow exploded beside him. He darted through ruins, leaping over rubble, and finally collapsed against his door, gasping. Miriam cried when she saw him. "I thought," she began. "I'm here," he said, handing her the bread. "We're okay." In April, rumors turned into a nightmare. Mass deportations were coming. Daniel knew he had to act. A resistance group was forming, and they wanted to get children out through the sewers. He met with them in a hidden cellar. "The children go first," a man named Daw said. "We can take 2 tonight." The hours crawled by. Miriam clung to him while Eli trembled. "Will you come with us?" he asked. Daniel forced a smile. "I have to stay behind to help others. But we'll be reunited after the war, I promise." Miriam's voice cracked. "You promise?" He looked at her, the only family he had left. "With everything I am." At midnight, the sewers opened. The stench was unbearable, but it was the smell of safety. Daniel knelt and kissed Miriam's forehead. "Be brave. You are stronger than you know." He hugged Eli tightly. "Take care of each other." As they disappeared into the darkness, Miriam looked back one last time. "Come find us," she whispered. "I will," he whispered back. The grate closed. Silence. For the first time since the war began, Daniel cried without holding back, his tears falling hot against the frozen ground. He had kept his promise. But it felt like his heart had been torn out. The ghetto uprising began days later. Gunfire, explosions, flames, everything burned. Daniel fought alongside the resistance. He fought for the children, for his family, for the right to exist. He fought until the buildings crumbled, until the Germans brought tanks. He was captured near the ruins of Mela 18. A soldier pointed a rifle at him. "You fought," the German said. "Yes," Daniel answered. "For what?" Daniel looked at the smoke rising into the night. "For something you could never understand." He was dragged to a labor camp. Months passed in brutality, starvation, and exhaustion. Many around him died. He didn't, because he had a promise to keep. Every night he imagined Miriam and Eli reaching safety. Every night he whispered to himself, "I'm coming." Stay alive. In 1945, the camp was liberated. Daniel could barely walk, but he didn't rest. He searched records, names, lists of rescued children. For months he searched. And then, one morning, he found her name. Miriam Lewin, alive, staying in a children's home in Krakow with another boy named Eli Rosen. His breath caught. He traveled for 2 days on trembling legs. When he reached the home, a woman led him into a small room. 2 children sat by a window. Miriam turned, her eyes widening. Eli dropped the wooden toy he was carving. Daniel's knees nearly gave out. Miriam ran to him, tears streaming. "You came back?" He held her like life itself. "I promised," he whispered. "And I never break my promises." Eli hugged them both, burying his face in Daniel's coat. For the first time in years, Daniel allowed himself to breathe freely. Outside the world was still broken. But inside that room, there was hope. And that was enough.